Hi everybody, this is Justina with JustynaThandMade, and in today's video, as you can see, I'm gonna show you how to create this cute 3D zipper pouch. This zipper pouch is created with woven cotton, so even if you have a small domestic machine, you're gonna be able to complete this project. The full supply list for this project is available in the Etsy listing, so you can just click the link below and it will show you the full supply list before you commit to the pattern. Like I said, this pattern is available on Etsy, so if you wanna create this project, you would need to grab a copy. As always, the pattern will be available at a discount for my Facebook members, so if you would like to take advantage of the discount code, just visit my Facebook group or join my Facebook group. The link is in the description below. Like I said, this is a zipper pouch, so we have a zipper opening in the belly of our well. It's fully lined and it has plenty of space. You can stuff it with plenty of school supplies and use it as a pencil case. Or it can serve as a storage for your small crafting project. So you may have it on your side table as a little cute well, but inside is everything needed for you to just grab and continue on your crafting project. Also, it can be used as a sunglasses case. So if you want to keep your sunglasses handy and nicely stored, you can just use this zipper pouch. This pattern doesn't come with the written instructions. Instead, you have access to this video that is available for everybody for free. So you can view this whole video and see if this project is something you would like to give it a try. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. The best way to reach me is through Facebook. If you like a quick response, just make sure you're a member of my Facebook group. You can also leave a comment. I'll do my best to address every single comment left under the videos. So if you are not a Facebook member, you can just contact me through YouTube. And now, if you want to see how this little project comes together, please keep watching. To start our project, we're gonna prep all our pattern pieces and supplies. The pattern will include a full cut list and notes on your pattern pieces, how they need to be cut, but I'm gonna go through them as well. So first we're gonna have our set of outer panels. So you're gonna have the bottom panel and we have our interfacing already attached, and as you can see, I cut the zipper opening only in the interfacing and then I fused it to my fabric. So this is panel B, and panel B we also gonna have a lining panel cut, and this one doesn't have the opening or interfacing. We only interfacing the outer panels. Then we're gonna have 4 panels A, and we're gonna have the outer panels A interfaced, and as you can see, they are cut on mirror. That means that you're gonna have a pattern piece, and then to achieve the on mirror cut, you're gonna flip your pattern piece and cut it. So when you put them both together, you're gonna have the mirror reflection of the pattern pieces. So with panel A, we're gonna have 2 outer pieces and 2 lining pieces. Panel C, we're gonna have our outer piece interfaced with fusible fleece as well, and our lining piece, and then our tail and fins we gonna cut the pattern templates only from the interfacing, from the fusible fleece. Then we're gonna fuse it to our outer fabric, making sure we have double the size of our pieces. You wanna make sure that you have enough fabric to have a seam allowance of about a quarter of an inch all around your piece. And we're gonna do the same with our side fins. So we have the interfacing fused to our outer fabric, to the wrong side of our outer fabric, and we just cut scraps to make sure we have double the amount of fabric and we have enough space for our seam allowance. And then we will need thread. I'm gonna be using the JustynaThandMade 70 polyester thread. I'm gonna be using zipper number 5. You can use zipper number 3. Both will work fine. And I have 2 buttons for my well eyes. You can use rivets or any other craft supply that can be used to create eyes on your pouch. So now that we have everything prepped, we're gonna start with creating our bottom of our well. That means we're gonna create the zipper opening in our panel B. So you're gonna take both panel B's, you're gonna place them right sides together and clip. And now you're gonna take it to the machine, and using the opening in your interfacing, you're gonna sew just off the edge of the interfacing on your fabric to create the zipper opening. So take it to the machine, sew around the cutout in your interfacing. Make sure to backstitch or overlap your seam to create the opening for our zipper. Now that we sewn both pieces together, as you can see it's attached, now we're gonna make a cut inside of our zipper opening to be able to insert our lining inside. Now place the lining through the opening. And now you can use your iron to set the seam in place. And now that we have our unit pressed, we're gonna now affix our zipper inside the opening. To help with that, I'm gonna use some double-sided tape, but you can use pins as well. Now we're gonna center the zipper tape inside our opening, so make sure that the unit is lining side down. And when we have our unit prepped like this, we're gonna take it back to the machine and we're gonna sew along the zipper opening with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, affixing the zipper to our belly of our well unit. Now the zipper part of our project is concluded, so we have our bottom unit done. Now we're gonna move on to work on our little accents. So we're gonna take our units prep for the fins and for the tail, and we're gonna take it to the machine and we're gonna sew along the cut out interfacing fusible fleece. You want to be sewing just off the edge of the fusible fleece. Make sure to leave this part open but backstitch well on the beginning and on the end of your seam, and do the same with the fins. So you're going to be sewing just off the interfacing, making sure that you backstitch well on the beginning and on the end of each seam. So take all three to the machine and create our shapes, making sure that you leave those parts open and the top of the tail. Now that we have our elements stitched, we're gonna trim the extra fabric with pinking shears. So I'm gonna be trimming it to about 1/4 of an inch. I'm making sure I'm not cutting any stitches, and I'm just leaving a tiny bit of fabric. Now we're gonna turn our elements right side out. Be gentle when using a sharp object. Make sure you're not gonna puncture your seam. And now you can give them a little press. And when you have your elements ready, we can now base them to our base unit. You just want to make sure you're going to be sewing it only onto your outer panel. So take your tail, place it in the middle of the straight short edge and clip, making sure the lining is out of the way of the seam. With the fence, you want to make sure when they're going to be in a final position, they're going to be like that. You don't want them to end up being like in this position, so just make sure you have the correct fin and place it in halfway from the front to the back, just making sure they are equal on both sides. And when you have your fins and your tail placed like that, take it to the machine and base them only on the outer panel. So base all three elements onto the outer panel of your bottom. Our fins and our tail is now based, and my linings, it's only attached by the zipper seam, so you just want to make sure your unit is looking exactly the same. Now that we have this prepped, we're gonna move on to create the top part of our well. So we actually can work on the lining and the outer at the same time. Take all four panels A, the lining and the outer, and both panels C, and starting with one of the outer panel A and outer panel C, we can snip at the edge of our panel C where the curved edge of our panel A is. So you want to start about inch and a half from the bottom, and I'm gonna make tiny snips of 1/8 of an inch because our seam allowance will be 1/4 of an inch, so you don't want to be any deeper than that. And now you can use pins or clips, whatever you prefer. I think I'm gonna use pins. So now I'm gonna attach my panel C to my panel A along the curved edge, and my both panels gonna be right sides together. So I'm gonna start from this corner and move along, easing the fabric along the rounded edge. Now that I have this part done, I'm gonna repeat it on the other side. So now I have both my panels A attached to my panel C, and I'm gonna repeat exactly the same thing with my lining. Now that I have my outer unit prepped like this and my lining unit prepped the same way, I'm gonna take both to the machine and I'm gonna sew along those two edges with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length, making sure that when I'm sewing I want to avoid any peckers. So just take your time, go slow. A quick correction: before you complete your seams on the lining on the top of the well, make sure to mark and leave an opening in the straight portion of your seam for our turning hole. This way we're gonna turn our project right side up and create those two seams at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. So now that we have both our top units ready, we're gonna start with the lining. We're gonna start attaching it to our bottom unit. So take your bottom unit, making sure it's the lining side up. You're gonna turn the lining right side out too, and you're gonna start clipping or pinning this exposed edge to the outside edge of our lining. So you can start with the bottom, then the top, and start clipping the sides. When you have your lining pin all around, you're gonna take your project to the machine and you're gonna sew all around, making sure that the outer stays out of the way of your seam. And you're gonna be sewing with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. And just make sure you are following the seam allowance all the way around. We want the seam allowance to be a tiny bit bigger than on the outer, so the lining fits nicer inside of our pouch. So take it to the machine and sew all around, making sure your outer is out of the way of the seam. Now that my seam of the lining is completed, I'm gonna snip those corners. And also I'm gonna make snips along the rounded part of my seam allowance. You could also just trim it with the pinking shears, but that should be good enough because it's pretty thin lining. So now that we have our lining completed, we're gonna work on our outer. So again, we want to make sure that our outer is right side out. And now we want to make sure that our little elements are staying out of the way of the seam. And now we're gonna pin our outer top panel with our outer bottom panel right sides together, again making sure that now the lining stays out of the way. If you feel you need to, you can snip the upper panel. And now, when you have your unit prepped like this, everything is pinned all around, you're gonna take your unit to the machine and you're gonna sew along the bottom edge with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. You can butterfly the seam allowances if that's something you want to do, or you can just fold them on either side. So now take it to the machine, making sure your lining stays out of the way of the seam. Sew along the bottom seam. After the seam on the outer is completed, we're gonna prep our seam allowances. So you want to clip those little corners here, and since this is a thicker material because we have it interface, we're gonna trim our seam allowance with pinking shears. And now we're gonna turn our project right side out. So look out at the pins that we use to clip our tail and fins. Don't poke yourself. Push your seam out. After you have your seams poked out and you're happy with how your project is looking, then we can close our lining. So pull the lining out, fold the raw edges inside, and you can hand sew at the opening, or you can take the project to the machine and top stitch along the opening with the 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length to close the lining. And after that, we're gonna just put finishing touches on our project. After closing the lining, we're just gonna place it inside, making sure it's pushed inside to mimic our outside. And now to give the well a nice shape, we're gonna stuff it with some hand towel or pressing cloth, and we're gonna give it a nice press. You just want to make sure it's gonna hold the 3D shape. After the well is pressed, we're gonna let it cool and get ready to attach our eyes. So I have two 1/2 inch buttons and a piece of thread. Now my project is cold. I'm gonna remove the pressing cloth. And so my eyes on, I want them to be towards the back, because when you look at the well, that's where the eyes are located. So they are about 1/2 inch from the fin and about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom seam. You can just make sure you're sewing only through the outer fabric. And now your project is completed. Our project is now completed. The well zipper pouch is ready to use. It has plenty of space inside to keep all your treasures safe. It can be used as a pencil case, eyeglasses pouch, or a small cute little pouch to hold your crafting supplies near you. That's gonna be nicely disguised underneath your cute well zipper pouch. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you're gonna give the project a go. If you do, please make sure to share it with me on my social media. You can tag me on Instagram or post a picture in my Facebook group. Links to both are in the description below. And don't forget to grab a copy of this pattern from my Etsy store. Link is also posted in the description below. If you don't want to miss out on any upcoming projects and videos, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and to hit the notification bell. Till the next time.